on, everybody? Welcome back to the Forging Roots podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Couture, and this is another episode of Forging Fridays. I believe this is episode 5 now. And this week, I kind of wanted to go over what I thought it means to be a man. And that being a man doesn't mean that, or like being manly isn't toxic, because I know that's a big thing that's been thrown around last couple of years. It's pretty prevalent, is this thing called toxic masculinity. And I don't think it's really a thing. That being said, I know that will sound controversial to a lot of people, but that's because I do believe we kind of misuse the word toxic masculinity when we identify a group of people as being men that are toxic, that aren't actually acting like what it means to be a man, in my opinion. And this is kind of inspired by, if you guys haven't heard of the podcast Order of Man, hosted by Ryan Michler. He has been doing that for almost, I think, 7 years, if I'm not mistaken, doing that podcast. And it's really good because he's explored over the last 7 years with over hundreds, I think now, of different men of what does that mean to be a man, and in the right way, to where it's not toxic. And I've got a lot out of his podcast, and I think it's a really good tool, especially for people like, thankfully, I do have a father in my life. My dad's always been there, somebody I can look up to, and he's a good role model. So that's something I've never really had to struggle with, of seeing an example of what a man should look like. And however, Ryan, from his podcast, he grew up without his dad around. And for him, this was kind of like figuring that out. What does that truly mean for him? So if you guys are interested in that, I would, again, recommend checking that out. So, and this was kind of inspired by it from the things that I've heard over the years, but also kind of just giving my opinions. You can take what you want from my opinions, and you may agree, you may disagree. I would encourage you, if you have questions or comments, to DM me. I'm more than willing to talk and discuss, because I think that's what we should be doing in today's society. And that's just one of the things, actually, that I will get into, of what I think makes up a man. And if you see me looking up and down, if you're watching the video, it's because I have like little bullet points. So I'm just going to go through these kind of in order. So like I was saying earlier, the things that people say men are toxic, or it's toxic masculinity taking over, culture in general, and that men treat women badly. The people that do those things might be biologically a male, but they're not what makes a man. There's a difference. You can be biologically a male and be fully grown, as labeled as an adult, but still not act like one. And that's a key distinction, I think, because it does put a bad rep in people's minds of guys nowadays, especially if you're online space or trying to do something like I'm doing, or there's things out there that you just get labeled as, and that's not necessarily true for everyone. And that goes for a whole lot of things, but obviously, just for today, we're just going to focus on the masculinity. And they're just acting like children. And really, I think it's like, instead of manly or toxic masculinity, it's just toxic little boys, like you're just acting like a child. And some of the things that differentiate a child from somebody who's a man is, I think, being self-reliant, being able to provide for not only first of all, to provide for yourself is a good starting point. Figuring out, what does that mean? Are you able to make ends meet? Are you able to, just go throughout day-to-day life just for yourself and get through those days and be happy? And then, things down the road, you bring in the picture of friends, family, are able to provide for a family too, if that's something that you want in your life one day. Things to think about. And if you are, then you need to be able to, again, it starts with you. So if you can't be reliant on yourself, if you're not dependable, if you're not good with finances, you're not a hard worker, those are things that you're going to have to start on yourself. And we've all grown into these things, as if you're a man, you have, and you learn these things. You learn these different lessons from life as you go through and see different examples, whether it be from family members or TV shows, or in this case, podcasts. Um, I think to be a man, there's something deep down of wanting to protect your loved ones. Um, I know for myself, at least I do. There's just this innate feeling and think that something that I think God puts inside of us, and especially me, like that just kind of clicks. And granted, I don't have a wife or kids or anything like that yet, but still, just for like my immediate family, my brother, my sister, my parents, cousins, whatever, like you want to protect those that you're with. And even when you're out with friends, it's just something I feel is important, and I think makes up a man, not the other way around, not somebody that's going around and not willing to stick up for, like the underdog or whatever. So on top of wanting to protect loved ones, I think too, treating women especially is something that differentiates a boy from a man. And I think for me, when I've taken dating or how I treat women in general, is I want to be very intentional for myself. I think that's a difference between just being, like high school dating where it's just kind of fun. You go out, you do the whole thing, versus as I've gotten older, I want to be intentional with my time and saying, like, for me, my intentions of dating are to eventually work towards marriage. And that's something that a lot of guys don't do. And, to each their own, but I think that's kind of one step where society and women will even see, like, oh, when you have those intentions of taking those steps and being a gentleman, opening, little things like just opening the door, uh what there's there's so many little things that go into it. I'm kind of trying to think of them all and not quite coming up with everything, but I think we kind of know the difference between like the so-called, like, you know going out player every night clubbing versus somebody that's in a full-on relationship. And this doesn't even have to be with just like dating. You need to be intentional with the people that you're with, I think, as a man, um to, whether that be work, be diligent in the work that you do, show up every day, put in your best effort even on the days that are hard, because that'll show to others. And I know for me, I just feel better at the end of the day doing that, and knowing that I've put forth the best version of me as a man that I can. And when people can't, like when you don't communicate effectively, that can get a little rough. Whether, like I said, dating, work. And I think that's where, when you have problems communicating how you feel, people will think it's toxic, or you're just trying to be, oh, you're being a man about this, versus actually understanding where you're coming from, or where somebody else is coming from. Because not only do you have to say your side of things, but be intentional to listen and reflect and hear those things and have conversations that might be tough, even though you don't want to. Um, Another thing for me that I think makes up a man, and in my case, is to, as a Christian, I want to live that lifestyle and put forth my best effort to live that day in and day out, and not be ashamed of it, because that's something that's important to me and that I've learned as I've grown. It's not just because my parents were, or something I was raised into. It's something I truly believe. And as I've read my Bible and I've grown and know, yep, this is the way I feel God's called me to live my life and to lead and to share with others. Um, and I think kind of just uh having some sort of, like, to be a family guy isn't a bad thing. And I think having a family structure, almost, it doesn't, because I know some people don't have immediate families, but having that family structure in your life definitely will make it uh more, whether that be like having a father figure through somebody that you know personally, or somebody that, like Ryan Mickler in Order of Man, getting that group of men together and trying to, like, the iron sharpens iron, right? Having people that keep you accountable, and to try to be the best person that you can be. is the difference between just these people that get thrown up on the news where you just see them, they treat anybody bad, but specifically women bad is the one that comes up quite a bit. Um, just don't care about themselves, don't go out and try to put forth their best effort. And I just wanted to kind of raise awareness. It's going to be a short one. Just wanted to hop on real quick. I don't have all the time in the world today, but I wanted to get something out for you guys and just kind of get some thoughts provoked and maybe reflect on it. Maybe you agree with me, and that's cool. And you have some points. I'd love to hear it and put in the comments, DM me. Or maybe you don't agree at all and you think what I'm saying is kind of a bunch of mumbo jumbo, just crap. Again, let's have the discussion. Let's sit down. Let's be civil about it, and uh, we'll see where that takes us. Because I might learn something from you, or you might learn something from me too. But with that being said, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and I will see you guys in the next episode.